Who here has given a Linux machine to friends or family? Show of hands. All right. Who here has regretted that decision? Yeah, okay, all right. So yeah, this talk is basically my journey in trying to fix this problem. And so if you're new to NixOS and you're just kind of here, checking it out, this might be a good talk for you as well. This is not going to be super technical. This is going to be a little more desktop focused, which should be fun. So, and the project that I've built off of this is at github.com, mkellyxp/Nixbook, and you can find me on Mastodon as well. That's on the last slide as well. So I want to tell you the story first of how I even got here, and it starts with a laptop, of course. So it was like 2020, pandemic was just kicking off. We all were bored and had stuff to do. And my parents gave me this old Lenovo tablet, computer. I think it was a Yoga 2. And it was broken, it had a bad hard drive in it. So I replaced it, fixed it up, and I was like, what do I do with this now? I wasn't a full-time Linux user at the time. I was hardcore in the Mac OS. And so, of course, I installed Linux on it. I was like, oh, yeah, let me check this out. I don't want to put Windows back on this. But that's a little bit of a lie, because I put a lot of Linuxes on there. In fact, at one point, I think my wife came into my office in the middle of the night. I'm flashing USB drives like crazy. And she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, honey, I'm a distro hopper. So, yeah, it was bad. But the cool thing is that I ended up landing on Linux Mint, right, because it was just kind of easy and everything worked. And that experience was so good for me about being on Linux full-time that I ended up buying a System 76 Lemur Pro and ditched Apple. And I started my de-Appleification. So this is about 5 years ago, and I'm still full-time Linux today. So it was a success. I saw the light. I was a Linux user, much to the annoyance of all my friends and family. But that's not why I tell you the story of this laptop, right? This laptop also started something else. I no longer needed it, right, because I had my System 76 Lemur Pro. What do I do with this? I don't need the money from it, right? So I put Linux Mint on it, kind of set it all up, and then I threw it on to a Facebook free group. And I got hundreds of replies of people that wanted, obviously, a free computer. Who doesn't want it? But the cool thing about that is it started something. So in those hundreds of replies that I got for the people that wanted this laptop, I got a number of people saying, hey, I got an old laptop laying around, don't know what to do with it, would you like it? So you can go ahead and do this. And it started this cycle, and it's really cool. So from 2020 to present, I've given at least 400 or 500 of computers away in my hometown of Olympia, Washington. I'd love to see like a heat map of Linux users, and there's just going to be this red hot spot in Olympia, Washington. I'm like, what's going on there? So it's really cool. So meanwhile, as I'm doing this, as I'm like Johnny Appleseed of Linux computers out here, something happens to me. I start listening to Linux Unplugged. Well, actually, I was listening to Linux Unplugged the whole time. But then, I saw the light of NixOS. And I'll be honest, I bounced off it a couple times, and it wasn't really working for me. And then it clicked. And anyone who loves NixOS remembers that moment when it clicked. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And of course, I'm putting it everywhere, and I got NixOS everywhere. I loved it so much, I ended up writing a Medium article called Why Do People Love NixOS So Much, which then spurred into a Linux Fest Northwest talk I gave last year called 5 Reasons to Love NixOS. And that's my cat, whose name is Nix. So, the problem went pretty deep here. There was a problem, though, because here I am giving Linux Mint to people, right? But I'm using NixOS, and I love NixOS. But I can't give NixOS to some normal person. What am I supposed to do? In 6 months, tell them, listen, I need you to go into the terminal, switch your channel, do a rebuild update. There's just no way that's happening, right? And so I was kind of split in these worlds of like, okay, well, I give Linux Mint to normal people, and I use NixOS for myself. And over the years, I started noticing there are some problems with Linux Mint in the hands of normies, right? The first one is that like people don't do updates, like ever. Like, you know this, if you've given computers to your friends and family, you get it back, and you're like, dude, do the updates. It just says, you just push the button. But people don't do it. There's also a lot of times some scary stuff that kind of comes up. They're like, oh, are you sure you want to do this? And that's not even talking about version upgrades. Like, oh, you want to go to the next version of Linux Mint. Well, now you need to step through this wizard that's going to scare the crap out of you. Like, no normal person's going to do that. There's also kind of package repo confusion. So when normal users go into the software store and like search for Steam, they're like, oh, do I do the one with the LM on it or the one with the Flatpak logo on it? Like, there's that confusion there, right? And I get it. And then Linux Mint, they killed me with this one. They rolled out this whole unverified Flatpak thing, and I understand why they did it. But now there's a whole swath of the FlatHub software store that has this kind of scary, don't trust this badge on it, which again, we understand, but my mom doesn't, right? So these were the issues, right? So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, okay, Chromebooks are like ubiquitous. You just give somebody a Chromebook, and they carry on with their day. And I kind of have a soft spot for Chromebooks myself because they're just so simple. I love simplicity, right? So okay, what do I love about Chromebooks, right? So I love the automatic updates. It doesn't ask you, oh, are you sure you want to do an update? It just doesn't. There's no kind of package repo confusion. It's easy. You just go into the Google store and click on the things that you want. The upgrades. Upgrades scary? Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know how I got back there. Sorry about that. Yeah, automatic updates, right? There's a nice, simple UI. It's easy to understand for people. There's not all kinds of bells and whistles everywhere. Easier software choices. Again, just go into the Play Store, and there they go. And I love the power wash feature. It's funny, when people give me their old laptops, they almost never know how to reset Windows, to kind of clear it off to give it to me. I know it's not hard, but again, for more normal people, it is. However, almost every Chromebook somebody's given me, it's been power washed, because people just understand, oh, I power wash it, and then I can give it to someone else. So I like that. So what I wanted to do was this. I wanted to say, okay, Linux Mint has been working for people for the most part. However, there are these catches, right? How can I combine Linux Mint, the lessons from Chrome, and build it in Nix? Could this be possible? So these were the goals of Nixbook. So that's the project that I started venturing down. I call it Nixbook. I wanted automatic background updates, right? I don't want people to have to worry about updates at all. Even version upgrades. I don't want anything like that. It can self-update its own config, and I'll get into what that means there. But basically, as things change, which they do, I want to be able to remotely fix that for people, right? A nice base immutable desktop, right? I want to have a nice simple desktop that they can't break. They can't uninstall something and break it. It's nice simple UI, FlatHub integration, and again, just FlatHub integration, right? Just simplify it to there. And then of course I wanted that power wash feature as well. So I was going to do, when I thought this was a longer talk, I was going to kind of do a demo, let's build one. But I'm going to kind of step through this real quick, and you can follow along with this as well. And again, this is the end result of this all is at my GitHub right there. So go by this step, but I want to show you how easy it was to kind of get started down this path, right? So you can install NixOS and just choose no desktop, right? Go hardcore. And then you can go ahead and when it reboots, you just go ahead, do nmtui, grab your Wi-Fi. Once you're connected, you could use Nano, or you could pull in a real editor with NixShell. Shout out to Helix. I love Helix. Yeah, all right, Helix fans. Yeah, and then you go ahead and just edit your Nix config. Again, I'm not going to go too much into this. And then you kind of pick a desktop. So for me, I'm trying to rebuild Linux Mint, basically. And so I went ahead and used Cinnamon, right? So rather easy. You can see this is all the code to go ahead and get Cinnamon installed there. And then you go ahead and say, okay, what images, what stuff do you want in that base immutable image? And again, this is what I love about Nix, right, is that you get to choose what's in that base immutable image. People might download Discord or Steam or whatever they want, right? But they start with this. And so, just through trial and error, I got Git, Firefox, GNOME software, calculator, just a handful of stuff, right? And then the portal stuff for the FlatHub integration. And then, of course, there's like services, Flatpak, true. Real easy. So then let's configure auto updates real quick. This is super easy in Nix. What's great is like nothing in this talk, I don't do anything with like Home Manager, I don't do anything with Flakes. This is all just kind of bare, raw Nix, which is cool. So Nix has an auto update feature. And so you can see right here, in Nixbook, I have it just doing it on boot, which means that it's not going to do a rebuild switch. It's going to wait for reboot to go ahead and do that. And again, stability is what I want here. I don't want to like hot swap somebody's kernel or desktop environment in the middle of them using it. That would not be good. And then garbage collection, right? Because everyone knows the Nix store can get rather big. So setting up automatic garbage collection too, 30 days is fine for most people, right? It's like if something hits the fan, they can roll back. And now, what about Flatpak updates, right? How do we do those, right? Because that will rebuild. This will rebuild every week. And then when the user reboots, they'll just have the new stuff. But again, remember, there's not that much stuff in that base image, which is on purpose. So what about Flatpaks, right? All the stuff that they install via Flatpak. Well, you can write a systemd service, like a one-shot systemd service here. And so you see here, we're just setting up a systemd service. This goes right into your Nix config. And we can go ahead and we can just do a Flatpak update, non-interactive, assume eyes. And that just goes ahead and, update your Flatpaks in the background. And I have that running daily because, why not? Most of the time, it's not going to do anything. But again, it's great. And this all happens in the background. So I use this for my kids. All my kids run NixOS because, I won. And so they use it for class and everything. And you know how Zoom is like notorious for like, they go to hop on a Zoom thing. Your Zoom client's out of date. And you're like, oh, damn it. So it's so nice, because as soon as you open up the laptop, like that job will probably run in the background. And by the time you get over to click on the Zoom link, it's updated. So I just never need to worry about it anymore. So it's super, super cool. Yeah, and so once you do those things, that wasn't a lot of stuff, right? You can go ahead and do a NixOS rebuild, reboot it, go ahead and add the FlatHub repo, and that's it, right? You got yourself an automatic updating, kind of simple, basic software thing. And so you can run software, you can go ahead, you can grab whatever you want, you can change your settings, all that kind of stuff. You're done, right? And you can go ahead and you can look, and this is kind of cool too. If you want to confirm that everything worked, you can do systemctl list timers, and you can see, there's the NixOS upgrade, there's the garbage collection, and then there's the auto update config as well. So that timer's running too. So it's kind of cool. So you can check on it, make sure it's working. So somebody is probably thinking, wait a minute, Mike, hold up. What happens when 25.05 comes out? Because you went and hard-coded this channel here. Yes, I know. So obviously, if it's like for your kid or whatever, or like you have access to that, you can go ahead and just manually change it every 6 months if you want to. I did a different approach. So I wanted to go ahead and have that in a Git repo and then have the Git update as part of it. So I'll show you what I did. So basically, all this kind of custom Nix stuff, everything that wasn't in the base, no desktop image, I sectioned off into a Git repo. And that's what you'll see on my GitHub as well. And basically, that's all this does. Like converting from a Nix to a Nixbook is just basically this. Just importing this base.nix file, write it under your hardware config. And you'll see what I did is I added in my auto update config just a git reset clean pull. So that means that every day when it's updating Flatpaks, it's also going to update its own config, which is awesome. So now I have hundreds of these Nixbooks out there in the wild. And when 25.05 comes out, I'll test it locally, make sure everything's fine, roll it out kind of slowly in my own house, and then I can just push it up to main, and everybody will get it within the day. And so that's pretty cool. So more channel problems. So I did that, and I was like, this is great. But then I realized, or somebody in the community realized, well, the problem is that if you manually run a NixOS rebuild, your channel is still technically the old one. And so there's some code that we added in there to do that as well. So it basically goes ahead and looks at what you have your auto update to, and will switch your Nix channel to it. Because in Nixbook, you can automatically update it, or you can manually push an update and reboot as well. So yeah, so in Nixbook, in this project I did, putting it all together, I went ahead and wrote an install script, because who doesn't love a shell script? And yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's real basically. This is the whole thing. And this is what I love about Nix, is that Nix to me is like Linux Legos, right? Like this is basically a distro. I just made a distro basically. And you can do that in NixOS so easily. So you can go ahead, you can like clone, you can use it as is if you want, keeping this up to date. You can also fork it and do your own thing, or just get some ideas from it. But as you can see, it's real easy. And really all the magic happens is here. So all this does is like literally adds, it cuts off there, but it just adds that, that base.nix file into your config. And then when it rebuilds, you're good to go. And then I didn't have it in here, time permitting, but I also have a power wash feature as well, which basically does this. It's basically this install script where it just blows away your home directory, resets everything up, and off you go. So this has been just fantastic, and it's been a game changer. And this is the outcome of it, right? So, I mean, that's so clean. Like, anyone can use that. That looks so much better than Windows, I think. And so this has been, I've gotten just such great feedback from regular people, like parents, people that have no idea what Linux is nor care. They're using this just fine, and it's great. And so by default, I go ahead and I add in Chrome, LibreOffice, and Zoom. Like, those are the three things that most people I find want. Obviously, Firefox is in there too, but I'm trying not to scare folks. So yeah, that's basically it. So again, you can find me on Mastodon. Yeah, cool. Trying to keep this a little tight. And there's the project Nixbook. So, and I have time for questions. All right. Yeah, so good question. So the question was, is it okay to not use FlatHub? Can you just include those applications in the actual, build of your image? Absolutely. My goal with Nixbook was to make something kind of general purpose, because I don't know what people are going to want to have, right? I don't want to assume everyone wants Steam or whatever. So like for me, it was like, okay, what are the basic things that we want to have, and then FlatHub for the rest of it, because that just seems to be good to go. What's that? Oh, yeah, FlatHub is fantastic. The question was, does FlatHub run well on NixOS? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you just Google NixOS FlatHub, you'll see like the 2 commands that you need to run to get it up and running. And yeah, it's fantastic. And again, the other thing is that people don't reboot their computers. I didn't get to talk about it, but one of the things in Nixbook that I have is a systemd timer that runs and checks if the computer's not been rebooted within like 28 days or something, and it'll send a notification like, yo dog, maybe reboot. Because again, those rebuilds only apply when the computer reboots. So that's the other danger of, like, let's say you had Zoom in there in the base image. Well, they're not going to get that new Zoom until they reboot, after that rebuild happens, where the Flatpaks update every day, and they're separate from the base image. So, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so the question was, is this just x86? Have I done it on ARM? I haven't, and I have an Asahi Linux, an M1 Air at home. I should run on, test that out. But yeah, so far it's just been x86, and I have gone ahead and jailbroke a number of Chromebooks as well, and done this too, which is why it kind of felt like a Chrome OS replacement for it. But again, in theory, there's no reason why it shouldn't work. There's nothing x86 specific in there. Last time I was playing with Asahi Linux, my only problem that I had was like there's a number of things that just aren't ARM64 ready yet, sadly. Maybe next year we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, it 100% could work. Written back? They should. So the question was, do you know any schools that are using this for students' computers? Yeah, I mean, why not? Like, I think that would be really, really cool. What I'm doing in my town of Olympia, Washington, is it's a bit of a unofficial nonprofit, but I've actually gotten in touch with the school board to get their old Chromebooks, and there's a number of businesses around that, like, every year they just kind of buy new hardware and churn their old ones out, and so I get boxes of like Chromebooks and like Dell Latitudes and stuff like that, and they all get Nixbook and they get donated back out to the community. So again, it's still kind of loose there, but yeah, 100%. If I was on a school IT board, I would 100% do something like this. And you could pull FlatHub from it as well if you don't want kids installing their own Flatpaks, right? Over there. Yeah, generation. Yeah, so the question was, is there any, I guess, plans or user interface for if somebody wants to roll back, and I say roll back in air quotes because it's a NixOS generation, which is a little different. I mean, my goal is that normal people aren't going to have to deal with this at all. If maybe there can be some instruction around like, hey, if you reboot and things aren't right, reboot again and then choose the next option down because you'll have at least 4 generations ready for you there. But yeah, there's nothing right now in like the UI that kind of lets you do that. Now I do have the power wash and the update and reboot. That's in the GUI menu. So I put those as like menu items. So like if somebody just wants to force a update and reboot, they can. Or if they want to power wash it, to go ahead and give it to someone else, they can do that as well. Good question. So the question was Chrome, Zoom, and LibreOffice, are they coming from Nix packages or Flatpak? I have them coming in through Flatpak. That was a decision I kind of had to make. For me, the cadence of Flatpak updates are faster. And again, I'm basing this off years of experience dealing with normal people that don't do updates. And so it's like, okay, I want Flatpak to do the heavy lifting on the application side. But you could totally. In fact, there's a variant of this called Nixbook Lite that you can install as well. So you go through the whole process and instead of install.sh, it's install lite.sh. And what that does is gives you that same basic, UI, Cinnamon UI, but it just has Firefox and it doesn't have any FlatHub integration. So it's essentially like a netbook. And that's if you're really resource limited or want to lock it down. Right up here. Yeah, so the question was, are people using Flatpaks and, go ahead and doing that? And then is there any kind of like forum, like feedback? Yeah, I mean, I'm following up with people that I donate to. I'm pretty active in my local community, and I do follow up with people, mainly because I'm just morbidly curious that normal folks can use Linux. Like, it always makes me just happy. Yeah, absolutely. And again, there actually has been a couple on Mastodon. I know there's a guy, Phil, I forget his username, but he put some PRs in there too, where you'll see in the final code of Nixbook, even those Flatpak updates, we actually deprioritize CPU, CPU and disk priority. So it's not as resource intensive if you're hitting that. You don't want to open your laptop and it's suddenly slow. So yeah, there's all kinds of great feedback. And again, obviously, this is kind of a world torn, right? So like there's the people installing this for people, and they're the ones that are going to go to GitHub and open a PR or an issue or something like that. And then there's like regular folks like my parents and kids and people in my community. So there's no formal feedback loop right now. I would love that though. That would be awesome. And part of the reason I want to give this talk here today too is to kind of get more eyeballs on this, right? Because I would love for this to be a bigger thing. All right, one more.
On his idea, maybe you could include like something like, I don't know, Slack or something that's already there as like a help desk, so that
Yeah.
And then, oh, hey, this isn't working for me. You could at least get some feedback from users.
That's a good idea, yeah. And you'll actually see in here, as part of the repo too, I have a getting started PDF, which isn't, I know a PDF is not the same as an interactive, help thing. I mean, this also isn't my job. And so, like, I don't actually want to be people blowing up my phone or anything too. But I do like that. There is a lot of room for improvement for, better feedback with people. But again, in that getting started guide, I do have my GitHub and my email. And again, I'm just getting kind of informal, feedback from this. But yeah, it would be fantastic to go ahead and get something more official. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. And